Hey everybody, I'm Raina.
And I'm Drew.
And we are Instant Movie Reviews. We are two best friends who've been seeing movies together for over 20 years. Oh God, that sounds terrifying when you put it that way. We've known each other a long time. We see a lot of movies, and we decided that since we're always sharing our reviews with families and friends, it would be fun to make some YouTube videos. We film our videos, we give you our thoughts before we head in, and then as soon as we see it, you get our raw, unfiltered, but no spoiler, take on the movies as soon as we come out. So, what are we seeing today, Drew?
So we are seeing 28 years later, The Bone Temple. And honestly, we were so kind of mid on last year's 28 years later that we honestly weren't even entirely sure that we would bother with this one when it came out. But I think the trailer looks interesting, although the last trailer looked good too, so it's not necessarily a sign of anything. But the reviews have been so spectacular so far, and there's actually saying that those who didn't love 28 years later will actually like this. So we decided to give it a shot, and I guess we'll see how it goes.
I'm not going to rehash what we said before because there's a whole review out there, but I also feel that our experience of it last time was tainted by having a really terrible audience. I'm a little bit nervous tonight. We're seeing this the opening night. It's a Friday night. They're giving out free popcorn, all kinds of stuff. It can go one of two ways, right? I'm trying to be open-minded. I really wasn't a fan of the previous one. I think until the ending, it was a standalone to me. It didn't feel like it was part of the franchise. It felt like its own thing. And then the ending to me, which was very divisive. I know a lot of you loved it. I know a lot of UK folks loved it, but up here in Canada, I felt it was like a big tonal shift. Not that I don't love the actor.
Yeah, the problem with me is I've heard of Jimmy Savile, but I certainly didn't know what he looked like, and the whole like wig situation and the Jimmys at the end being an homage to that sort of real life bad guy was lost on me. So it's one of those things that's sort of lost in translation coming across the pond, I think.
But even like I did know about him. And to me, like I was like, is that who they're trying to portray? So I did pick that up in the theater. I also was just like, that's so weird because I had to do the math and be like, so was the truth known about him when those first movies came out or not? Like, is this meant to be that they know Jimmy is a terrible human being or they don't? So I don't know, and I'm still not entirely sure on that.
Yeah, I think the idea was when the apocalypse happens, like it's in the intro 28 years later, the character of Jimmy, when he's watching TV, he's like watching the Teletubbies. So I think it's like media got frozen in time, obviously, when the zombie outbreak happens in 28 days later. But I don't know if he's devoted himself in an homage to this, real life celebrity because he didn't yet know that he was a bad guy, or if it's because he knew he was a bad guy. So what I'm hearing is that this movie picks up basically within a couple of days or a week after 28 years later, picks up Alfie Williams' character Spike, who has now been sort of inducted into this gang that he encounters at the end of the first one. And from what I hear, it's sort of like the Jimmys are sort of like the Walking Dead's saviors. It's a really bad group. This like cult led by this like cult of personality guy played by Jack O'Connell, who was really, really good last year in Sinners. Yeah. So anyway, I'm keeping an open mind. It's a direct continuation of the last one, but apparently Ralph Fiennes gets like the central role and Spike takes more of a backseat, I'm hearing, in this one. And I thought that Ralph Fiennes as Dr. Kelson, I think his name was actually the better part of the original one.
He is so good in everything he does. He was so good in The Menu, so spooky. I actually thought he was one of the stronger parts of the last film as well. And I felt like he wasn't utilized enough, so I was happy to hear that like he's a main character for this one. I did see like a little featurette where he was on YouTube and he was just talking about the experience of making the film and the depth he put into the character and all these kind of little things that he worked on, which I really love. Him and his brother are just phenomenal actors. Like they're in so many great things that they're so chameleon, right?
But to go from Conclave to 28 years later is quite the switch. And again, like the movie poster has like Ralph Fiennes. He looks like he's covered in blood. He looks like he's roaring. It doesn't really fit with the way that character was presented in 28 years later.
I thought it was iodine that he covered himself in.
It is, yes. Thank you for reminding me.
But the imagery does look like blood, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what's shocking. I'm trying to be open-minded about this. I will say I've had a really hard day today as well. My child had to have an unexpected surgery, which was needed, which was great. It went fine. But also another family member of mine landed in the hospital completely unrelated under more serious conditions. So it's kind of feeling like a weird time to see a violent movie. I am a little bit nervous about the violence in the movie. I've read reviews that say it's extremely violent. I don't necessarily have a problem with violence, but I don't I don't want to say this, the P word, but I don't want it to be torture, PORN, you know? Sometimes if you say it, YouTube will flag it. So
I do hear there's a little bit of torture in this. I don't think it's going to be Saw level. Like, I've looked at the rating for this. In Canada, it's 14A. So Saw 10 was rated R, or not R, but 18, which is R, Canadian equivalent of R. So I don't think it's to that level, but again, Primate was only rated 14A, and that was pretty nasty.
Primate was intense, yeah. Let's go see this movie.
28 years later, The Bone Temple.
The Bone. I feel like Bone is like this. Like, does Samson get pants in this one?
I have heard that there is still nudity in this, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
That's the scariest part. All right, we'll see you
in a
soon.
minute.
I'm not gonna lie, Chief, man, they had me in the first half, but then right in the second.
Yeah. I was just saying to you on the way out, I can't remember the last time a movie that I thought was completely mediocre had such an improvement by the next sequel since Annabelle to Annabelle Creation. That movie was so much better than I expected it to be.
I am genuinely shocked that movie turned me back into a fan, because the last movie I felt like it could have just been its own thing. It didn't feel like it was really part of the franchise. It wasn't very satisfying to me in terms of like a time jump. It almost could have been a mini series even, like whatever. It just wasn't very impactful to me, and I apologize, don't come at me with the pitchforks. I know that some people really loved it, but I went into this predisposed thinking like, I'll give it a chance, but I don't think I'm gonna like it. And I'm not gonna lie, the first half an hour I was like, what did I get myself into? It's very, very violent in the first half hour, and I was very uncomfortable, and it just feels like it keeps going and going, and I'm like, okay, you've made your point. Everything's brutal, the Jimmies are brutal, like I don't need to keep seeing that the Jimmies are brutal. Like, I already kind of got that from the end of the other one, right?
Yeah, so that sequence, I will agree, I was like, I can't remember the last time I've seen anything this mean-spirited and brutal, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there's an aspect to the violence that reminds me of this like notoriously violent horror film, French horror film, that I will not see because I really don't like that sort of violence. And it shows just enough for you to get the picture, but I wouldn't say that it lingers on like the human suffering too much.
I was just like, it really focuses more on how cruel the Jimmies are, but I was just like, I can't do a whole movie of this. If this is how this is going to be, I was starting to feel sick.
Yeah, me
and
too.
It wasn't fun. And I was kind of like, okay, you've made your point. Is there going to be a story here? And then it was like, well, since you've asked so nicely, we're going to give you a story, and it's going to be a good one.
I feel like they needed that scene though to really establish the stakes, because I am racking my brain to try to figure out another human villain in a movie that has terrified me the way that Jack O'Connell's Jimmy Crystal did in that movie.
Well, The Woman and Bring Her Back, it was kind of same kind of premise. It's like somebody, like, just the cruelty and the manipulation and the like exploiting vulnerable people. And that movie wasn't quite as violent, but still had violence, and she was willing to go to such ends to get what she wanted and manipulate everyone around her. So like, I found her a very terrorizing mother figure. Jimmy's not really a father figure. He's more like a big brother kind of figure, is what I felt like he was to all of these characters.
Well, he's sort of like a cult leader.
He's a cult leader, yeah.
Sort of elements of like Charles Manson in there.
Yeah.
And again, like, I found their introduction in 28 Years Later just so over the top and ridiculous. It's like all of a sudden the movie became a Power Rangers episode, and they don't really do that in this movie. And I'm just like, why did they introduce them that way? That took me so out of 28 Years Later, but all is forgiven. Like, I still think the ending of 28 Years Later is kind of dumb the way that they did it, but the Jimmies are a really interesting group of characters.
I just don't feel the previous movie was necessary at all. I think that all you really need to know is that Spike and the Doctor know each other, and the introduction of the Jimmies. I feel like you could have condensed that entire movie down into a half an hour piece into this movie. I don't think it needed to be 2 movies. I don't, unless they're going to do something with the third one that ties it all together. I don't actually see the point of that first one, the first 28 Years Later, because you do spend all this time getting to know Spike and seeing his development and everything, and then he's very much a side character in this one, and there's no point to all the development he did. And in fact, I actually found his character contradictory to all the development he went through in the first one. I was like, at first I was waiting for like Spike to kind of like do something, and I was like, oh, So everything he just survived and did and learned to do doesn't matter because he's still going to be scared and not able to stand up for himself. And I was just, I don't know, it felt contradictory to me to the development they gave him in that one.
Yeah, but again, I appreciated the perspective shift. Like, shifting to Dr. Kelson was a really good idea, and Ralph Fiennes, holy moly.
Ralph Fiennes.
Well, it's spelled Ralph, but it's pronounced Ralph.
Is it pronounced
It's like an old-timey, I think, Scottish or Irish pronunciation.
All right, interesting.
But yeah, Ralph Fiennes was just absolutely phenomenal. He gets to do so much in this movie, and I was wondering how his character looks on the poster was going to make sense compared to the Kelson that we met in the last movie, but they do explain it, and it is a really good explanation.
I think it's also going to be one of those things. I think more people are going to like it, but I do think aspects may still be divisive, just not as divisive as the one before. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, there's a couple scenes that I thought were just really brilliant and well done, and I can see other people rolling their eyes, but our audiences seem to really enjoy it. Yeah. A few times people were trying not to clap. Yeah. I just have to say, though, like, the reviews and everything that we're saying, even if you didn't like the last one, you'll like this one. I genuinely did. Like, mm-hmm. I and for the first half an hour, I was like, nah, they're not winning me over with this. I don't get it. And then they just did. And I feel that there were a couple little loose ends that they didn't tie up, so you can tell that it was deliberate, though. So mm-hmm. they're like planting the seeds for the next movie. And the person who took this one over, I just enjoyed all of it more. Even the camera work I enjoyed better.
So I want to talk a little bit about the shift in director. So this was not Danny Boyle, who was the director of 28 Days Later and 28 Years Later. So it seems like we're getting into a trend where, like, Danny Boyle, then a fill-in, because 28 Weeks Later was done by a different director. Then 28 Years Later was done by Danny Boyle. This was Nia DaCosta, who was the director of the unfairly maligned Marvels. Mm. She also did the flop Disney movie A Wrinkle in Time.
I actually saw it and it was really great. I don't know why it flopped. I think it was just the timing of when it came out.
Yeah, she's done other things too. I'm sure I'm forgetting some right now, but I feel like she's been unfairly sort of written off because of how the Marvels did and how A Wrinkle in Time did.
I love the Marvels.
It was the direction in this was amazing.
This felt like a solid story. It felt like a piece in the story of 28 Days Later. Yeah. Like, it felt way more connected. Mm-hmm. Again, the last movie, it just could have been a piece of this movie, mm-hmm. Or some kind of spin-off TV series or something. I don't know. It didn't have to be this whole movie with all this. I found the trailer of the last one so misleading, mm-hmm. where it was such a brilliant trailer and it built so much, and it's going on about war and going on a war, and it's like, this has nothing really to do with war. The mm-hmm. war's already happened. Like, this is done. Yeah. But I actually felt that track could have fit so much better for the Jimmy's mentality. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how things were done. I'm really curious for the people who stuck with it. So the people who liked the last one, those of you who really liked it, and so obviously you went to see this one because you actually liked it. You're not like us who were kind of like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. Mm-hmm. So you liked it. You were there deliberately. Did this one live up to your expectations? Because for me, it just kind of blew my expectations out of the water.
The other thing that I want to talk about is the expansion on the character of Samson.
Yeah, we don't want to give too much away. They gave a setting in the last one, and you saw some things. Yeah. So.
But it's so interesting what they chose to do with that character in this movie, and I'm not going to get into the specifics, but it really went in a direction that I wasn't expecting, and the potential ramifications of what that means for the rest, like where does the story go from here? There's definitely still a lot more to tell, and I really hope that this does well enough, because I don't think they filmed the third one yet. They filmed this one back to back with 28 Years Later. I don't think they filmed the third one yet, and I really hope this does well, because damn it, I'm invested again.
We're invested. I literally, I cannot, it was like Houdini. Yeah. I cannot believe they changed my mind on this franchise. Yeah. Because 28 Days Later was great. 28 Weeks Later, bit of a flop, but still.
I loved Weeks. I really loved Weeks.
Cinematically, it was kind of received as a flop, right?
I know. I liked how it was an action movie. I liked that Rose Byrne was in it. I love Rose Byrne.
But and then the third one was very divisive, mm-hmm. and then I think this one brings it back around. And I almost want to say you don't have to see the third one, but you do kind of to get the context. And also, I feel like it does make a few small things in the third one seem more deliberate because mm-hmm. they line up very well with this one. I feel like the writers and director knew what they were doing with all the jokes about Samson being naked.
Yeah.
So I felt like there were a few nods to that in there, and that poor actor, like I'm like, oh, buddy.
Yeah.
But they have these brilliant perspectives of his, and I think they're the ones that they filmed with the iPhones, and you can see in the behind the scenes where it's almost like a rainbow of phones in his face.
They did do that. Yeah. Yes, I remember.
So it's like a rig, and I think we did put a clip of it or a picture of it in our first review.
We did. Yeah.
So they have this kind of rig, and it's doing this like motion thing, and it was very cool. And I actually found it translated better in this one, because in the one before they used that shaky kind of cam thing way too much, and it didn't have any kind of oomph to it. It didn't have an impact. This was used very deliberately this time. It was used for very, very specific Samson scenes, so that whenever it was triggered, you knew Samson was having an experience of some sort. And I loved that. I thought that was a brilliant way to let you know that, okay, so sometimes we're looking at Samson and we're the other characters looking at Samson, but sometimes as the audience we're looking at Samson, it's actually Samson's experience. So them doing the shaky cam was this great way of being like, oh, ding, 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 it's Samson's perspective now.
Yeah.
So that was brilliant to me.
And what it's chosen to do, like it's given a new perspective to a zombie infection and what that means and what that's like. Like in the Resident Evil games, they're just shambling corpses. Like there's nothing to that. I'm really intrigued with the lore that this introduced.
Yeah.
And what the significance of that is going forward.
And the consequences and the ramifications.
Yeah.
Like, and there's been other zombie IPs that have done something like iZombie, the TV show. I thought that was really unique. When she ate the brains, she took on their personalities and their skills.
And what was that one? There was a romantic comedy.
It was based off of Warm Bodies. It was a spin-off.
Okay.
So iZombie was a spin-off of Warm Bodies.
Okay.
And yeah, Warm Bodies was Nicholas Hoult. And when he ate the brains, he would like get their memories and personality and skills, and so that spun off into a very successful TV show.
Man, Nicholas Hoult has had a crazy career when you think about all the different characters and types of movies he's been in, from Renfield to Mad Max Fury Road, and it's just like, wow, what
Lex
a career for Lex Luthor. But and the other thing I want to comment on is the use of music in this movie.
Oh, it's so brilliant.
So I don't remember if there was any like licensed real world music in the other 28 something later films, but they really do use real life music in this. And I thought there was one point where I leaned over to you and I said, I love this
Me
song.
too. I was literally just thinking of that.
I'm not going to spoil it.
I don't want to spoil it for the audience. And it's funny because sometimes the music is integral to the scene and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just like we're playing a licensed piece of music just so that Ray can experience it.
Well, I think lyrically that song fit really well.
Oh, I thought it was beautiful.
With what Rafe is doing in that particular, or Dr. Kelson is doing in that particular moment. So it sort of got me thinking, like, if the zombie apocalypse happened in 2002 and you had like a couple of favorite albums to take with you, I know exactly what I would bring with me. So that humanized Dr. Kelson, I thought, quite a bit too, to show that, you know, he still wants to listen to music. He's very lonely. He wants to connect with someone, and wow, I'm so blown away. I expected to like it just because of how unanimously positive the reception has been, and that it has the highest Rotten Tomato score of the entire franchise.
I didn't, because I mean, I know I was very hard on Weapons in our review, but Weapons and what was the Shelby Oaks, those two films were so hyped up last year, and I went into them so excited. And I think because of the hype and the good reviews, I was really disappointed. I was expecting something better. I do agree
on those particular
So I was scared that was going to happen with this one. I was like, no, because the last one was overhyped, and then I didn't enjoy it. I think you've made a good film when you can take somebody who wasn't a fan and flip them. And I say the same thing about musicians. If I don't like your music in general, but I can sing one of your songs and I know all the freaking words, you've done a great job. You deserve where you should be, because if you can take someone who doesn't like it and they can still tell you every word, you've done a good job. And I feel like this is the same thing. You took people, and they're actually saying this in reviews, you're taking people who didn't like the one before, or maybe even didn't like the franchise before, and this one is flipping them into fans. And making them look at everything else through this lens and appreciating it more.
I wonder if we went back and rewatched 28 years later, would it change our perspective on things? It's certainly going to change my perspective on the ending, but I wonder if it would change my perspective on the rest, or if I would still feel kind of meh about it.
The thing about our videos and what our kind of niche is that we're doing is that Drew and I are giving you our honest first impressions. And sometimes we do sit on these movies, and after we thought of it, and we've reviewed it a bit, and we look at other people's opinions, and maybe we rewatch it, our opinions change, right? And sometimes my opinions change too based on the comments and feedback you give us. Like we got some really good feedback on Song Sung Blue, which made me kind of reappreciate it. I think I was pretty hard on it. And then like looking back and the impact it's had, it's grown on me, right? Yeah. And so
you also watched the documentary, which I think also
the documentary also really helped me connect with that one. So this is like the same thing too. Like, you know, we're telling you all this stuff, and then, you know, a couple of weeks from now, we might like it even more, or there might be more Easter eggs we missed. I love watching YouTube videos that break stuff down to like all the connections and the pieces that you missed. I love those. Like, Think Story, he's one of my favorite YouTubers who does breakdowns, and Foundflix does like a lot of horror, and I just love their two channels because they do point out stuff that I don't pick up on in movies, and then it makes me go, oh, that's so much better than I realized it was. So,
but again, I do want to give a slight trigger warning again, and we've already talked about this a little bit, but there is some really brutal violence, particularly sort of one sequence, and it's not all one sequence. It sort of starts, and then there's a break, and then it comes back to
which, thank God, because I think Primate could have used some of that.
Yeah, but if you're not prepared for some really grotesque, horrifically cruel violence, then it's not going to be for you. It doesn't show more than it needs to, but it's still quite effective.
The cruelty is what makes it worse, because like I've watched violence in like Saw and it feels justified, you know, like that doesn't bother me as much. But also as like a society, we've become very numb to this stuff. And so like I'm not embarrassed that I go in and get bothered by these films.
Oh, like, no, like I agree with you. That sequence towards the end, I was starting to get nauseous. It starts to hint that maybe it's going to go in an even worse direction. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going to happen next?
I know there was a point where I was like, maybe I need to take a bathroom break because I just don't know if I can keep watching this. And then it finally shifted, and I was like, thank Jesus. Thank Samson.
I can't believe that was only rated 14A in Canada, and I feel like it's because it was just one sequence and not the entire movie. But I'm like, that should have been an 18 rating.
I feel like it should have been too. I don't think 14-year-olds should be watching it.
No.
Not in my personal opinion.
No, but yeah, so if you can handle a little bit of extreme violence, then
you can just zoom in on my face there, Joe.
Yeah. But okay, so what would you rate that?
I think I would give it an 8. I begrudgingly give it an 8 because I didn't want to like it, and I didn't. And actually, like, as much as we're telling you about these violent scenes, it works. It works. I can't even say like they should cut it back because it works. It's just, it is a lot to get through. I think like an 8, and 8 because of the storytelling is much better. 8 because the actors were phenomenal, and 8 the music and the cinematography in this one. I feel the cinematography was more intentional.
There were so many beautiful shots in that, like establishing shots that I was like, this is like one of the most beautiful images that I've seen in a movie in a little bit.
And I think we saw the first one in IMAX, didn't we? Because I remember seeing they did do some shots of their island and stuff, and it was really big.
Yeah, I can't remember if we saw it in IMAX or not. I'll have to go back
because we were really excited to see it, and I think like it was definitely in IMAX. I think we did see it in IMAX. Anyway, what would you rate it, Drew?
So I gotta give it a 9. Just because I thought the performances were outstanding. We've already talked about Fiennes and Alfie Williams, but Jack O'Connell, like between Sinners and this, it's like he's the go-to guy for an excellent, compelling villain. He's playing a very different character than his character in Sinners, but that guy just goes into his character, and you really believe that this is a real, unpredictable, dangerous person. Yeah,
and they do a lot with the dialogue to tease out more of his backstory, which I really enjoyed, instead of spoon-feeding it to us. Like, lots of good references. You still don't really get, though, why he decides to call himself and his group the Jimmies. Like, they don't really explain that. I kind of wanted them to because of the references we were talking about before. There's no post-credit scene. Obviously, we're not going to spoil the ending, but the ending is phenomenal. And the problem with our channel is we don't do spoilers. So if you decide to comment on spoilery stuff in the comments, just maybe tag yourself in case, because we're doing this quite early, so we don't really want to ruin it for anybody.
I loved that ending. I was just like...
It was a great ending. It was a satisfying ending. And like I said, they still left some characters that they introduced. There's little threads, right? So you know that there's more. There's been groundwork. So I think it's going to make people, I just hope it makes enough for people to come back.
Our screening was really well attended. I was really worried that how divisive 28 years later would result in this just landing with a flop.
It wasn't packed like the first one was, though. Like the first one was packed because we couldn't move until, like, when we did move, we had to move right to the front, remember?
Yeah.
So it was so it wasn't packed like the first one, but I don't know. I think word's going to get out, and I think people like me who are on the fence or even leaning the other way are going to give it a chance because of this. And I hope you give it a chance if you like horror movies, if you like this kind of stuff. If you can't do the gore, then you're going to hate it. So be careful, okay? Be careful. Okay. So 8 and a 9, and we both really want another one now.
Yeah,
so
we've got our first excellent horror film of 2026.
What do we have coming up next week?
We are going to the Thursday night premiere of Return to Silent Hill. So I'll get into this a little bit more when we do the review for it, but I am a rabid Silent Hill fan. I've been a fan since the original game came out in 1999. I've been on like a message board dedicated to Silent Hill since like 2003. I'm really into the fan community, and I love this franchise. I've been a little mixed. Like, the first trailer didn't wow me, but then there was an international trailer that I thought looked incredible. There hasn't been a lot of promotion that I've seen leading up to it, and I've only seen the trailer before one movie that I can think of, so there doesn't seem to be a lot of promotion. I'm hoping it doesn't completely flop, but mainly I'm just hoping that it doesn't disappoint me as a hardcore fan of the franchise, because I feel like people like us who love the series already are probably going to be the only ones to go see it. But we're going to give you our thoughts because I can't see the new Silent Hill movie.
We're going to dress up. We're going to cosplay.
We got our James and I'll put a picture up here of our Maria and James cosplay.
Well, my cosplay is based on the video game, so it's not going to look like the girl from the movie because I don't like her wig. But
you have a better wig than that.
And the week after that, we actually are back on Elevation's distribution list. So we are going to see some early access movies this year, and we're going to go see Jason Stathem's early movie before it comes out to the public, and we'll make a review on that and let you know. And I've seen a trailer for it. It's not something I would normally pay to go see. No offense to Jason Statham. I loved him in the Meg. Meg 2 kind of flopped, but I loved Meg 1. It's not my typical, makes me think of like Liam Neeson Taken style of film, but you know what, free tickets, they want us to review, we get free popcorn, and this time it's near where I live. We don't have to go like all over the city, so I'm excited,
and we're finally doing a non-horror review when we see Shelter, so that'll be nice.
And then things are going to slow down a bit in February. There's not a whole lot coming out.
Scream 7
is, I think, the big one. If I can squeeze in The Bride, I want to see it.
I do want to see The Bride too. I think that's early March.
March 6th. Maybe it's March. I think there's maybe one that we absolutely want to see in February.
Send Help. We want to see.
I think
Send
that's
Help.
Still a January film.
It's the very end of January.
I'm thinking of what opens in February. So not a lot that's coming that's new in February that we're interested in, and then March picks up again. So we'll see how it goes. But please like and subscribe. Apparently hypes are still a thing, so if you feel like hyping us on the back end on the analytics, we can see it. Just don't pay for anything, really appreciate your comments. Get chatting. I can't believe how many comments Songs on Blue has had. We have like an audience who's like all over 65. Do any young people watch our videos?
They're not gonna love our reviews for something like this, but anyway, we're glad you're here if you're still watching us.
I mean, we see everything. We see everything, so don't even worry about it. And I almost said Best Fishes because I'm so used to my other channel. Don't worry, I'm not going to quit my day job. Just need a CGI shark. But thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the movies.
We'll see you at the movies.